Absolute reality is not a concept that appears in the mind. Truth is not a happening or an experience that occurs in space and time. So what is reality? What is truth? One way of approaching the truth of reality is to unmask what absolute reality is not. So the question then becomes, what are concepts, images, and thoughts that appear in the mind?
Hello, and welcome to episode 2 of this series, in which we are exploring together the nature of consciousness, and in particular in this episode, the nature of mind. What is mind? Does mind have a life of its own, an embodiment in which it functions as a separate entity from the whole of creation? Or is mind a universal expression that is incapable of functioning apart from the whole? And do humans control mind? Is there such a thing as self-will that allows humans, for instance, to co-create with the universe? Or are these and other similar theories merely an illusion of mind, a false sense of the power of mind, due to a great misunderstanding as to the truth of what actually is so?
The cosmos functions intelligently, absent concepts and thoughts. Innate intelligence, in fact, underlies everything that appears in the universe, and this has always been so. Intelligent action occurs spontaneously, absent a cause and effect in space and time. This means there is no doer or creator that is separate from universal expression, because all manifestations that appear in the universe arise out of one source that expresses in one holistic movement encompassing everything that appears in consciousness, including humankind. In our first episode, we created this visual to represent what David Bohm called the implicate-explicate order of the universe, noting that the implicate represents that which is prior to appearances in consciousness, while the explicate represents that wherein all appearances occur. And enfolded within the implicate are all potentials and all possibilities that ultimately express in the explicate as the space-time universe by means of the movement of consciousness, which is likewise the movement of mind. The world, as conceived of mind, appears to be filled with objects and organisms of all variety and kind that live and die in a space-time universe. But appearances are not what they seem. Underlying everything that appears in the universe is a staggering amount of energy, spinning and vibrating, intensifying and diminishing, conceptually differentiated in terms of force, velocity, wavelength, frequency, and amplitude. These many and varied combinations of energized waveforms morph into particles, atoms, and molecules, giving each a unique signature frequency of their own. And when observed, the varying wave frequencies appear to resonate with other atomic structures, producing what appears to be a cascade of electromagnetic pulses traveling at the speed of light through space and time. But regardless of how such expressions appear, the key point for us here, as regards the nature of mind, is that underlying all material expression is this ongoing movement of energy that ultimately expresses as the physical universe. Thus, the quantum realm reveals what the Buddha taught many centuries ago, that life and movement are the same. Life, mass, and energy, expressed scientifically as E=mc², are not separate entities that act upon one another in a cause and effect world, but are a unified expression of the movement of energy as a whole, which is likewise the movement of life. Just as energy is movement and movement is energy, so also life is movement and movement is life, just as the Buddha taught. Nothing appears in the universe absent energy arising out of fields. A field in physics is defined as a region of space enfolded with the potential of generating a force on objects that appear in that same region of space. Thus, all manifestations not only are rooted in fields, but also arise as a result of forces appearing in those fields. Or put another way, no manifestation occurs in the space-time realm absent both a force and a field. Bohm modified this statement only slightly, yet significantly, when he said that all potential that is enfolded in a field arises out of an implicate order that is not of the field, but lies beyond the field, beyond the space-time realm. All potential and all possibility, therefore, is enfolded throughout the universe as a whole, everywhere at once, not in a field, but prior to fields, wherein no appearances occur. Fields, rather than being the source of creation out of which all potentials arise, instead lie at the threshold between an implicate order of potential, which is non-conceptual, and an explicate order of expression, which is conceptual. And that which is conceptual is an expression of mind, while that which is non-conceptual is other than mind, or beyond mind. Put another way, that which is conceptual is that which appears in consciousness as space and time, while that which is non-conceptual is prior to appearances in consciousness, thus absent the concepts of space or time. What physicists call the zero-point field, which lies at the root of all fields, is essentially the ground state of consciousness itself. In physics, this ground state of all manifestation is also called the vacuum state, which is the lowest possible energy state of any field wherein fluctuations of energy into and out of form constantly occur. Arising out of the implicate order of potential into the explicate order of expression. No apparent cause and effect can be detected at this ground state of consciousness, but only the arising and dissipating of energy, from a boundless, limitless state of absolute potential into a time-bound, space-bound world of cosmic activity, and back again, unceasingly. Einstein's equation, E=mc², defines the amount of energy necessary to create mass. Though energy and mass appear separate in the equation, in reality they are not separate entities, one material and the other immaterial, but only energy, which underlies all manifestations that occur. No force or object that appears in the universe is ever separate from the cosmic sea of energy that underlies all expression. Accordingly, what appears as objects in the universe, as conceptualized by mind, are merely ripples of excitations amidst a vast ocean of energy that arises out of one source that is prior to consciousness, thus cannot be identified or named as a force or an object in space and time, because the source of all the universe, which the ancients called God, is beyond all things, including conceptualizations of mind. As with all objects that appear in consciousness, fields are likewise conceived of mind, which means they are limited and finite, not whole. Even so, no field, object, concept, or thought has any independent existence apart from the movement of consciousness. So while fields are at the root of mind, that which is imperceptible and undefinable lies beyond fields, therefore beyond mind. And that which is beyond mind is unapproachable from the standpoint of mind. Even so, pure awareness, which is non-conceptual and other than mind, is at all times inseparable from mind, because one is not possible without the other, and the other is not possible without the one. One of the best known of all fields is the electromagnetic field, which is a combination of two fields, one that is stationary with a positive and negative electrical charge, with another that is dynamic, wherein movement is generated by a magnetic force that has no positive or negative charge. The magnetic nature of the field appears to affect the movement of energy traveling through the field in terms of its velocity, frequency, amplitude, and waveform. The electromagnetic spectrum, in its entirety, is conceptually divided into segments based on oscillating frequencies inherent in waveforms that arise out of fields. Faster oscillations equal higher frequencies. Slower oscillations equal lower frequencies. Holographic images occur when wave patterns arising out of the field interfere with one another, forming what are called interference patterns in space and time. The accumulated behavioral information inherent in the interfering waves is thus combined, bringing about greater complexity of form and substance as ever more complex interference patterns occur. This constant intersecting movement of oscillating wave patterns over billions of years of cosmic time has created an incredibly complex quantum filing cabinet, if you will, of behavioral memory throughout the cosmos as a whole. This ongoing movement of interfering wave patterns is what creates holographic images that ultimately appear as concepts of mind. The same cosmic process that creates holographic images of mind is replicated through reverse technology in laser-created holograms. A hologram appears when a single laser beam of light is split in two. One beam is reflected off an object in space, while the other beam, after reflecting off of several mirrors, is reunited with the first, creating a complex interference pattern that is recorded on film. The image on the film, however, is not of the original object reflected upon in space, but instead is a composite of interference patterns that bear no resemblance to the original object photographed. But when a beam of light passes through the interference patterns encoded on the film, a three-dimensional image of the original object miraculously appears, suspended in space, absent any measurable substance of its own. The image is thus a virtual image, per the interference patterns encoded on the film that is projected by means of light into space and time. The technology that creates holographic images is in essence the same process that creates concepts of mind that are visualized as space and time. The film that records the interference pattern in the laser-created hologram equates to quantum fields that are enfolded with implicate potential out of which images arise. And the light of the laser that projects a virtual image into space and time equates to the light of consciousness that brings concepts to mind. The primary difference between laser-created virtual images and conceptualized images of mind is that images that appear in the explicate arise out of interference patterns encoded in a field instead of on film. Information encoded in a field then translates into holographic images of mind that are projected into space and time. Thus, light that radiates out of the implicate brings life to consciousness in the explicate order of expression. Yet another difference, however, between the film and the field is that the film is static, so interference patterns recorded on film are fixed in place, whereas interference patterns arising out of fields are never static, but always dynamic, as they are infused with boundless energy and limitless potential arising out of the implicate order of expression. The explicate is thus the movement of consciousness wherein all appearances occur, while the implicate is pure awareness, untouched and unmoved by the explicate, wherein all potential resides. Everything appearing in the universe is holographic, because the presence of the implicate interpenetrates the explicate everywhere at once at all times. Thus, the implicate potential, which is enfolded in the explicate order of expression, is non-local and always present, now. The subquantum realm is beyond space and time, thus beyond appearances in the quantum realm. The subquantum realm, in essence, therefore, points to what physicists call non-locality, meaning nothing in the subquantum realm can be localized, specified, or quantified in a space-time setting. Evidence of this fact has been demonstrated through experiments, which have shown that photons of light do not communicate or interact in space and time through any observable physical process. Put another way, photons do not respond or react to any known cause and effect. We only add one other aspect to this observation, which is this: photons of light appear and disappear in the explicate solely at the will of the implicate, which is why they are not governed by any known field of cause and effect, for they arise out of implicate potential at the will of the Creator, because the Creator is the one and only source of all creation. And the reason why physicists will never be able to explain or describe how or why this is so is because the implicate, which is the realm of pure awareness, is not the stuff of mind. Because the implicate potential is enfolded everywhere in the explicate, neither time nor space is required for implicate potential to express in the explicate. Photons arising out of the implicate transmit messages, if you will, in the form of energy that translates into movements in the explicate, which is the movement of life itself. This ceaseless interaction between the implicate and the explicate that is inseparable from the whole of creation allows for intelligent action to come into play. Absent intelligent action, chaos would ensue. Universal intelligence, therefore, is brought about by means of photons of light, appearing and disappearing at the threshold of the implicate-explicate order of exchange. That which is prior to concepts and thoughts is immeasurable, incalculable, and inconceivable of the mind, therefore will never be proven by science. But that which appears as images, concepts, and thoughts of mind can be measured, calculated, and conceived, because they are the universe of space and time, which is likewise the universe of mind. And because the implicate is enfolded throughout the explicate non-locally, the presence of pure awareness is everywhere at once, at all times, which means that pure awareness is never absent from any description, definition, or equation conceived of mind, even though concepts of mind will never describe, define, or equate to that which is beyond mind, from whence mind stuff comes. All manifestations at all levels of expression, from particles, atoms, and molecules, to plants, animals, and humans, arise out of fields. And each manifestation is ultimately supported by a unique energy field all its own. The human energy field, similar to other fields, is a matrix of multiple fields. For example, photographic images of the brain, called electroencephalograms or EEGs, are produced by measuring electrical currents generating through the human brain field. Electrocardiograms or ECGs are produced by measuring electrical currents generating through the human heart field. Lie detector tests measure electrical currents generating through human skin. Magnetic resonance imaging, or MRIs, are produced by measuring electrical activity generating through various organs of the body. There is even a superconducting quantum interfering device called a SQUID that measures electromagnetic fields that surround and interpenetrate the body as a whole. The human body, while a unique energy matrix of its own, is also fully integrated with universal energy fields that underlie all phenomena appearing in the space-time realm. Thus, the human energy field is not separate from other fields, but is thoroughly integrated with all fields that likewise arise out of the one and only source of all creation, which is the implicate order of expression. Additionally, consistent with the holographic nature of the universe, the human energy field is holographic in nature too. This is evident because electrical systems that express as apparent independent organs of the body can also be measured globally throughout the body as a whole. For instance, even though electrical currents read the strongest by an EEG when electrodes are attached to the brain, EEGs can also be read from electrodes attached to the toes. It is the same for ECGs. Even though electromagnetic frequencies measure strongest near the heart, they can also be read anywhere on the body from head to toe. In other words, there is no location in or around the body where one field functions but another does not. Clairvoyants tell us that the human energy field surrounds and interpenetrates the physical body with kaleidoscope clouds of color that scintillate and radiate light. This field of light, commonly referred to as the aura, is not only seen in connection with the human body, but also in connection with everything that appears in the universe. Some more, some less, depending on the complexity of the field. The human aura is thus no different than any other aura, except for its complexity. The human energy matrix that surrounds and radiates from the body appears as multiple layers, each interpenetrating the other, yet each composed of finer substances, resonating to ever higher frequencies the further from the body they appear. Thus the body and all its organs, including the brain and the heart, appear in its entirety as an intricate web of fields that are in coherent resonance with the universe as a whole. No two energy fields are identical, just as no two people are the same. The matrix of each specialized field forms the basic pattern upon which biological tissues are expressed. The visible body thus appears where the wave function of the field is most dense. Absent this vital energy field, the dynamic animation of biological tissue that makes up the human body cannot express. Thus, absent this field, the body dies and decomposes into the energy from whence it came. Just as no entity appears as a separate field apart from the whole, so also no human body appears as a separate entity apart from the whole. For all fields are interconnected with all other fields, forming a universal matrix that is in its entirety the universe as a whole, expressed holographically, everywhere at once. Currents of energy moving into and out of the body appear strongest in areas associated with chakras, which are spinning, spiraling vortices of energy. There are 7 primary chakras located vertically along the axis of the body, both front and back, but many smaller chakras also spin around other parts of the body as well. Primary chakras exhibit different frequencies that generate different colors, ranging from red at the base of the spine to purple at the top of the head. Activity in one chakra tends to generate increased activity in another. But the heart chakra exhibits the highest level of activity of all, therefore is the most energized of all. The crown chakra, which points vertically upward instead of horizontally outward, appears to originate in the uppermost part of the brain. Like all chakras, the crown chakra is a cone-shaped vortex of energy that extends from a few inches to a foot or more in height above the head. When a person is in a joyous state, the crown chakra appears taller, brighter, and more pronounced. But when a person is strongly identified with emotions, feelings, and thoughts, which are expressions associated with mind, the other chakras appear more active and pronounced. Where the human field is most dense, the energy arising out of the field expresses materialistically, among other things, as neural fields that are expressed most powerfully in the brain and heart. A neural field is an aggregate of neurons that correspond to certain frequencies. Neurons in the brain, for instance, are thus attuned, one might say, to a range of frequencies unique to certain types of activities, but not others. Interference patterns arising out of the explicate are thereby transformed, so to speak, in the brain into images, concepts, and thoughts that arise in consciousness. The brain is therefore a frequency analyzer of sorts that translates a certain range of wavelengths in the electromagnetic field into images of mind. That which is beyond fields, however, the brain cannot touch, because the brain itself is an expression of the field. And that which is of the field cannot know that which is beyond the field, just as that which is beyond the field is untouched by all that occurs in the field. It has been calculated that 280 quintillion bits of information is potentially available to any one human brain in the present field of knowledge as it is now. But it has also been calculated that if the information contained in every book ever published in the English language was converted into wave interference patterns, this information in total could fit inside a large cube of sugar. So while the power of knowledge is significant, the infinite power of the universe is far, far greater still. The power of the universe, in fact, is beyond anything that is known or will ever be known.
The human body, including the brain, is not only an expression of the human energy field, but is also a holographic expression of all that is. No part of the universe can possibly live outside of the dynamic of the whole organism, which is the implicate and explicate functioning as one. Thus, nothing that appears in the universe, including human beings, is ever separate from the whole.
The brain primarily functions in accordance with 4 wave frequencies, called beta, alpha, theta, and delta, all of which arise out of the field. Beta waves, which exhibit the highest frequencies, are associated with a high level of mental activity, while delta waves, which are the lowest frequencies, are associated with deep sleep. Contrary to common belief, information associated with various wavelengths is not stored in cells of the brain, but is translated in the brain based on interference patterns arising out of the field. One's memory, therefore, has more to do with a sort of hard wiring of the brain to the field than storing bits of memory as if in a filing cabinet in the brain. Because there is no such thing as a separate entity in space and time, instead of acting as a separate filing cabinet for the field, the brain, in fact, is a dynamic extension of the field that does not function in the past or future, but only functions now, as it translates interference patterns arising out of the field into concepts of mind. The human body as a whole functions in accordance with other wave frequencies in much the same way. When a physical skill like riding a bike is learned, for instance, the brain does not intricately memorize all the moves in sequence and then proceed to coordinate every move next time one rides a bike. Instead, the body learns to move holographically by means of the human energy field, which allows for a fluid, holistic action to occur next time one rides a bike, without engaging the brain much at all. While the human body appears to be a separate entity, functioning independently in space and time, in actuality, it is in essence a dense blur of interference patterns that are interpreted, if you will, in the human brain as if it is an independent entity, when it is not. The human brain rarely sees the human energy field that is actually there, nor does it see that all fields are holographically integrated throughout the space-time universe as a whole, for the brain is limited in that regard. Another aspect that is often overlooked regarding so-called human intelligence is the fact that the human heart plays as meaningful a role in the unveiling of conscious awareness as does the brain. It is no accident that certain actions, feelings, or motivations that arise in consciousness are thought to be heartfelt or heartless, or that human expressions of love and compassion are associated with the heart. The heart, like all aspects of the body, functions holographically with the human energy field. Furthermore, it is estimated that at least half of the cells of the heart are actually neurons, with clusters of ganglia attached, just like the brain. And at least one aggregate of the heart's neural ganglia connects directly to the spinal cord, thus to the nervous system of the entire body, just like the brain. This allows for an ongoing dialogue to occur between the heart and brain directly through neural connections, so that the heart and brain can potentially function as one on similar wavelengths, even though such is often not the case. Electromagnetic waves associated with the heart measure in the same range as the slowest delta waves of the brain, which means the heart is more closely attuned to what we might call a meditative state of consciousness than to high-frequency activities of mind. The heart also generates an electromagnetic signal at amplitudes 40 to 60 times greater than the brain, which is why the heart torus radiates as much as 12 to 15 feet beyond the body, much more so than the brain. So electromagnetically speaking, the heart is considerably more powerful than the brain. The heart tends to function more intelligently than the brain because it functions more coherently with the field. Heart intelligence is not limited to images, concepts, and thoughts, but is more perceptive and intuitive in regards to the whole. An open-minded intellect, however, tends to be more in sync with the intelligence of the heart, while a closed-minded intellect tends to be cut off from the intelligence of the heart, therefore from the intelligence of the whole. Scientific experiments have demonstrated that when a heart is in the presence of compassion and love, it radiates light more coherently than when hatred and violence are in play. Similarly, when the brain and heart are in sync, they function more coherently together, therefore with greater intelligence and clarity. But when the brain and heart are out of sync, they function more erratically, with less clarity, because incoherent wave patterns are in play. When a heart functions freely, without limitations, it radiates the intelligence of light, in which case the dysfunction of mind is less likely to occur. This environment, if you will, is central to the occurrence of what are commonly called awakenings. Awakenings might more accurately be described as insights or epiphanies that occur within the context of mind, rather than a complete cessation of identification with mind. That which is beyond mind is not an awakening, but is enacted, if you will, simply by the fact of being awake. Even so, when the brain is entrained with the heart and in coherent resonance with the whole, it functions more logically and intelligently than when it is not. Pure awareness is beyond the realm of awakenings, beyond the realm of experience, beyond the explicate order of mind entirely. Absolute reality is not realized through an awakening, an insight, a concept, a thought, or an experience. The Absolute encompasses, yet is beyond all that. The truth of pure awareness is not centered in the body, in either the brain or the heart. Nor is it located in a field, but pure awareness is that which shines light on everything that appears in consciousness. Put another way, pure awareness is the ever-present source that brings consciousness in its entirety to light.